Good afternoon, NuMinds Nation. Welcome to From the Vault of NuMinds, where we extract some cool, exciting activities and lessons from years and years of NuMinds madness. And today we're going to pull a classic out from a little bit of a twist today. Up until now, all the Vault episodes have involved some very basic hands-on materials because we wanted you to be able to do things that you could just find around your house. Right? And today, if you're watching this, that means you have access to a computer or a phone or a device of some kind, which means you can do a little bit of coding, right? So we're going to do a little bit of programming today from one of our classes called Intro to Programming Python. Now, Python is a big old snake, but it's also the name of a programming language. And it's a fun one. It's an easy one. And so my question today, a question that always crosses my mind is the limits of robots and artificial intelligence and all these things. And I'm sure you guys think about robots too a lot, right? They're in the movies and on TV and in games all the time. And we take them for granted. But I thought, you know what? For me, the test of a robot, will they reach our level of intelligence? For me, one of the big tests is humor. And so I thought, okay. So I don't have a robot here. NuMinds actually does have a robot named Numi. Her name's Numi. She's stuck in quarantine at the office. No one has her at home right now, so she can't make an appearance on NuMinds TV. But maybe soon she can. That would be fun. But in the meantime, I thought, you know what? I'm going to open up today's session with some robot jokes. So prepare yourselves. Prepare yourselves for a few robot jokes to break the ice today. Okay. What is a robot's favorite type of music? Heavy metal. Duh. They love heavy metal. Come on. Get it? They're made of metal. It's that type of music. Yeah. Okay. Let's see. What sort of robot turns into a tractor? Any guesses? A transformer, right? That's right. A transformer transforms from a robot into a tractor, okay? Let's see. Now this one, kids, you might get it. If not, your parents should. I have to say it. Because I know some fellow newbies will appreciate it. What does R2-D2 use to open PDF files? Miss Kristen's on. I wonder if she gets this one. I don't know if she's into Star Wars or not. What does R2-D2 use to open PDF files? Well, there's a special app called Adobe Wan Kenobi. Da-da-da-da! All right. Okay. Let's see. Finally, speaking of robots and if they can transcend into human emotions, why did the robot marry his fiancée? He couldn't resist her. I couldn't even say the punchline. He couldn't resist her. Resistor, right? A resistor is a piece of electronics found inside a robot. But also, he couldn't resist his fiancée. Okay, that's enough robot jokes. What we're really going to do today is, on the theme of robots, we're going to see if we can take this theme of robots and robot jokes, okay? And, program them. So can we help machines learn human humor? Because, man, if they're going to outlast us, they better carry some humor into the future, right? So let's see if we can do our part as programmers and teach humor to computers. We're going to do that by using the Python code that I was just talking about. We're going to do some very basic Python coding to create some jokes. Okay? And this is something that you can all do. And I'm going to show you exactly how. It's super simple. There's a download of this whole lesson, almost everything I'm going to go through today. There's a very easy to follow printout that you can print off at home and do these exact same things. Now, and you don't even need a super fancy computer. You don't even need special software. I'm going to show you a couple of options, but the one I'm going to use is just on my browser, on Chrome. It's a free site. I created a free account, and that's what I'm using today to do a little bit of Python programming. Okay? By the way, I'm not a programmer or a coder. This is something that anyone can do. Anyone can learn to code. It's like one of the new languages of the world, right? Like we have to understand math and literacy and coding, right? Because you guys, you kiddos watching this are going to make the apps of the future that transform our lives. All right. When I'm an old dude, I want some awesome apps that make my life easier. And I'm depending on you, kiddos. Okay. So here's what I'm going to do. I want to show you, two different programs that are both easy and both free, that if you have a computer with your parents' help, you can use these programs to follow along with me today and do some basic Python program coding, okay? So first, let me get the right screen up. By the way, if you have a good robot joke, chime in at any moment on these live comments and you'll see if you can top the jokes that I pulled out. I see Mr. T just joined. We have Miss Wadad. I bet she and her son can come up with a good robot joke for us. And if I see one come up, I will pause what I'm doing and I will share it. Miss Kristen was on for the Star Wars joke and she did not get it. Okay. We need someone who can get us a good robot joke. Okay. So here we go. I'm going to let you see my screen. All right. So this is the first option. Okay. This is called, it's python.org. If you go to python.org, they have free software that you can download on your computer. And if you have Windows or Mac, you tell it which one you need. And you just go here you click on downloads here. All right. And you can say Windows. No, I've got a Mac. No, I've got something else. It's absolutely free. I have Windows, so I would go here. I would click Python 3.8.2. That's the version I would use. It downloads out of my computer. And so it's just a piece of software on my computer that I can open up and do Python programming. Okay. The other option, and this is the one that I'm using today. Okay. It's called Python Anywhere. Okay. And you just pythonanywhere.com. You go to the landing page. And you just tell it that you want to start a free beginner account. You do have to enter an email, a username, and password, so get your parents' help with that. And it'll give you the option to just launch a Python window, which is what you see here, okay? So this is called, as we go through today, I'm going to give you some basic coding terminology, just the real basics. And in the printout that you have available, you have all these vocabulary words highlighted for you. You can start to learn the language of programming. But really, it's quite straightforward. What we're going to do is go through some real basics. I'm going to work on zooming in a little bit for you. There, that's better. I think that's better. I'll tell you what, I'm at 175%. I'm going to stop there. But if you all comment that it needs to be even bigger, then that's what we'll do. Okay. So this is called a console. Now a console is just the kind of like the platform where you're going to tell the code, you're going to speak the language of the code to give it instructions, to tell it how to behave. Okay. So first term we're going to learn today is called a string. Okay. What is a string? In coding language, a string is a word or a phrase. It's text. It's a piece of text. And in Python, the way you tell Python, we're gonna talk as if Python is an alive thing and we're communicating with him, okay? If you want to tell Python what a string is by using quotation marks. So I'm going to give you an example here. So let's say joke. So anything that's not inside quotes, the code Python knows is not a string, so it doesn't treat it as a group of text. So I say joke, I'm going to put my quotes, and then I'll say, why did the robot cross the road? Okay. Okay, so we have a joke from Mr. T. That's why I'm giggling. So listen, you see what I typed? I said joke equals. So what I'm telling Python is, hey, there's this thing called joke. Now Python doesn't know what a joke is. It doesn't know that it's a humor device in the human language, but I'm just telling it joke equals this thing. So it's very mathematical. What does it equal? It equals this string. Why did the robot cross the road? I'm just going to hit enter, and Python didn't do anything with that. It's just like, okay, thanks for the heads up, whatever. Just let me know someday if you want me to do something with joke, and I'll do it. And I'll say, okay, as a matter of fact, Python, I do want you to do something with joke. I want you to print it. Now, printing on a Python console doesn't mean the same thing as we think of printing on a sheet of paper. It just means that it's going to produce that string or that object that we just told it to. So I'm going to say, print, hey Python, I want you to print something. Print what? You put it in parentheses. I want you to print that thing called joke that I told you about. Remember, I taught you joke? I want you to print it now. So when I hit enter, da-da-da-da, why did the robot cross the road? Okay? Very, very simple, but guess what? We just ran a program, basically, right? We just ran a little code. And we're pausing here for a robot joke break because we got one from Mr. T. Check it out. Question, why did the robot run away? Answer, it heard an electric can opener. All right, good one, Mr. T. I like it. Okay? So that, my friends, is a string. We told Python, all right, anything between quotes is a string of text that kind of stays together. I know you can't understand that, Python, but just keep it together, okay? And then we also told it what a joke was, and now we know when we want Python to print something or produce something, we just use the command print, okay? All right, so next skill. Now we're going to learn a term called syntax, okay? So when you're doing code, it's very, very important to speak the language and use the rules that that language knows, okay? In the case of Python, if you use quotes in the wrong way, it gets confused and it doesn't know how to process it, and it produces something. It gives us a message to let us know that it doesn't understand. So I want to give you an example. I'm going to intentionally okay, I'm going to call this one joke 2 since it already has a joke. Joke 2 equals, I'm going to use my quotes, okay? I'll put my quote here. This is a fun one. It's not robots. What did baby corn say to Mama corn? That's the question. Okay. The answer, I'm going to go ahead and put the answer. Where's popcorn? Get it? You guys get that, right? It's hilarious. Come on. That's probably a good movie joke, right? All right. If you can see that, take a look at that. And I'm going to hit enter. I'm going to see if Python got that. Uh-oh. Syntax error. It says, scanning string literal. Syntax error. Now, we don't need all the technical language today. The important thing is that it said syntax error. That means there's something out of order or some kind of command that's not making sense. And what I did was I forgot the closing quote, so it didn't know when the string was going to end. Okay? So we just have to remember those basics. That Python, if you start with a double quote, whenever it sees a double quote, it says, okay, string is done. By the way, Python doesn't mind if it's a single or a double quote, as long as you're consistent. So you could do a single quote to start the string and a single quote to end it. But kind of a problem here, or a tricky thing that we have to get around, is, did you notice in my sentence I'm using an apostrophe? It says, where's popcorn, apostrophe S. Since Python doesn't speak our language, it's going to see that apostrophe and think that that's the end of the string. So we need a way to kind of tell Python to ignore apostrophes and just use a different type of indicator of syntax. So there's a way we can do that using 3 quotes, okay? So I'm going to call this joke 3. And then pretty soon we're going to be programming our own original joke. So hold on there. Oops. Okay, joke 3 equals. I'm going to use 1, 2, 3 single quotes. Okay. I'll do Mr. T's. Okay. He just gave us a brand new fresh joke, so I'm going to use Mr. T's as the example. What do you call... Oh, sorry, guys. There's a little delay on my screen because I have it so big. So if I have a typo, we don't even know for a couple seconds. What do you call a pirate droid? Okay. Answer. Arg. Oops. Arg. 2 D 2. Beautiful. I'm going to do a little exclamation point on that one for the punchline. How do I close this? I opened it with 3 quotes. So I'm going to do 3 quotes to end it. Now Python knows, okay, there's a string. Joke 3 is a joke about pirates. It doesn't really know that it's a joke about pirates. Okay. Boom. Now, you guys remember how to print? Quick review. How do we print a string? The print command is print. In parentheses, we tell it what we want to print. Yeah, Python's like back there. Yeah, I'll print something for you. What do you want? I want you to print joke 3. Okay, whatever. All right, joke 3. Boom. There it is. Okay? Now listen, that's not so exciting to have it just print what we just told it here on the same screen. But if you're programming an app or some kind of program that's interacting with on another level on an interface where you have people entering things and then you want your program to respond, that's when it seems like magic, because Python kind of knows based on what's going into it, the input, what we put out. Okay? All right. So let's get a little bit more advanced here. Now, there's this other concept called embedding. So sometimes we want to have like a sentence ready, but we don't know one word or one part of the sentence, what we want it to say yet until we get the results. Okay. Or until we get some more information. Okay. So for example, let's say I want to report I'm on quarantine and I've been eating lots of cookies every day. It's not a true story. Don't say that. Don't take that literally. Okay. I've had a couple cookies a day. It's all good. It's balanced. Okay. Anyhow, so let's say I want to create a report inside Python of how many cookies I've eaten each day. Okay. So I'm going to create an object called cookies devoured. I want you to notice something that I did, and that's I didn't put a space between the 2 words. I used a little underscore. That's because Python gets confused if you use separate words for a single object. So just you can connect them with an underscore. That's just a little trick, okay? So I'm going to say cookies devoured equals today I swear, I solemnly swear I only had 7 cookies. I'm just kidding, people. Give me a break. A man's got a right to eat. Okay, cookies devoured 7, right? So I'm going to hit enter and Python's like, all right, big whoop. It doesn't do anything with it. Remember, Python doesn't do anything with things unless we tell it to. So now what we're going to do is create another object called the cookie report. And my last name is Cook, and my nickname used to be Mr. Cookie, by the way. It's not a coincidence. All right. Cookie report. Okay. So I'm going to create an object called cookie report. And it looks a little something like this. I'm going to use a quote. Today, Mr. Ben, that's me, ate. And since I don't know how many yet on any given day, I put this percentage symbol with an S. So what that means in Python is that you're just holding the space for the report. So today, Mr. Ben ate blank cookies and they were delicious. Okay. I'm going to end it at, what did I do? A single quote. Okay. So I'm going to use a single quote to end that one. So again, 2 objects. First, I told Python, hey, Python, there's this thing I want you to remember. Cookies devoured equals 7. Okay. And here's another thing I want you to know. There's a thing called cookie report, and here's the string for it. Today, Mr. Ben ate blank cookies and they were delicious, okay? Big deal, all right? So Python still hasn't done anything with all that information, right? So we got to tell it what to do now. This is where it starts to get a little bit fun, right? Okay? So now, remember that handy little command print when we want Python to produce something based on objects that we've given it? So now we're going to print a report. So let's say at the end of each night, my mom has a program that she goes in and she wants to print today's cookie report. How many cookies did Mr. Ben eat today? Right? That my mom would want to know. Did I stay within my limits for the day? And so she has an app based on Python that prints a cookie report. So that's just how we would do it. So I want to tell it to print. Got to make sure that now Python just reads it literally and exactly, so you can't get creative with spelling or use caps or lowercase interchangeably. You got to be super consistent. So we're going to print cookie report, but there's a problem. Remember in the line right above that, when we told it the cookie report has a placeholder in it, I'm going to highlight it right there. So we have to tell Python what we want it to use for that part of the report. Okay? So down here where we're telling it around cookie report, we have to put a little the percentage sign, and then tell it what value we want it to use. We want it to use the cookies devoured. Okay? Then I close the parentheses, enter. Now, if this works, if Python understood me, then what it should do is print a cookie report telling my mom how many cookies I ate today. Let's see if it worked. Today, Mr. Ben ate 7 cookies and they were delicious. Take that, Mom. 7 cookies, right? Python's got me covered. Oh, darn it. I think 7 is over my daily limit, so actually it might be in trouble. Thanks a lot, Python. Man, maybe I need to program it to lie. No, actually, according to the laws of robotics, a robot should never deceive a human. So we need Python to tell the truth, even if it hurts and might get me grounded. You know, you gotta do what you gotta do. Okay. Now next, one last little challenge here. And it goes even deeper in the handout, but I want to try to do one more thing. Okay. So I want to create a joke that's kind of dynamic, that we can insert different punchlines for the joke. Okay. So first we have to learn something called a list. All right. So a list gives Python kind of like a database of items that it can insert in different places. So I'm going to call this the cookies list, since we're talking about cookies. Okay. The cookies list equals, and then I use some brackets, different than parentheses, and then I start listing types of cookies. And these are strings: chocolate chip, close that quotes, comma, space, another quote. I need another type of cookie, let's say oatmeal. I need another type of cookie, let's do at least 3. Let's see, pecan. I think I prefer, out of these 3, I think I prefer chocolate chip for sure. Pecan, and then I'm going to close it, okay? Now, I'm going to hit enter. And nothing special, right? Python's just like, okay, noted. Thanks, Ben. But now we're going to have it print the list just to make sure that it remembered correctly. Print what? What is it called? It's called the cookies list. And all right, it gave me the list of cookies. So I know I just wrote it 2 lines above. But if we were deep into a program and I wanted to check on something, maybe I wanted to update the list, maybe something that the user inputted needed to call the list up and see all the options, this is how Python would do that. It would print the list, it would call on the list, and would know everything that was available in there. Okay? So that's important because we're going to create a dynamic joke together now. Using lists, using strings, using embedded strings, all these things we're going to kind of come together at once for us to create our grand finale joke here, okay? So here we go. So we're going to create joke 4. Since I don't know if we're on 3 or 4, but just to be safe, I'm going to call it joke 4, okay? Equals. Now here, I'm going to use the triples just to be sure. Let's go for a variation on a classic. Why did the robot cross the road? Okay, question mark. And what I'm going to do is go to the next line, so it's kind of like pause, 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 and then I'm going to put the punchline is to get some, and then I'm going to do a placeholder, so I do that percentage sign S to get some blank, of course. And then end. Doom, doom, doom. Okay, so just to review, joke 4, why did the robot cross the road? To get some blank, of course. So what we're going to do now is we need a database that the joke can use to pull different punchline options from. So hit enter. Python's recorded that. It didn't give me an error. That's how you always know. If it doesn't like what you put in the line, it'll let you know. Don't worry. Absolutely. So now we need to create a punchline list. So I'm going to call punchline list equals, and now we can make a list. Now here is where I'd like a little help. Doesn't look like we have a gazillion people live with us right now, but that's fine. But if there is anyone live, I'd like some help inserting some items that might be kind of silly for a robot to cross the road to get. Okay? For example, I think it would be silly for a robot. Remember when we're doing our list, we have to use quotes. Okay? I'm going to say diapers. Right? That's my first. End quotes, and then comma, space. Okay? If anyone out there, I'm gonna keep chewing on this, and what would be another silly one. If anyone has another idea of what would be a funny thing for a robot to cross the road to get, that we could have as one of our dynamic punchlines. So we've got diapers. Let's see. If a robot crossed the road to get thank you, NuMinds. NuMinds says, wouldn't it be silly if it crossed the road to get the chicken? I love it. Okay. Okay. Mr. T's got another one. A bathing suit. Awesome. I think we're good. Unless another one pops up right now. We've got a nice, fun list going there. Diapers, the chicken, bathing suit. I'm going to end it with brackets. So that's how we do list. We enclose list in brackets. Okay. So what I'm going to do is hit enter. Python's good with it. So now we have to actually print the joke. But we're going to have to tell Python which punchline we want it to use. Now, I told you this is like very basic, very, very basic coding. But if this were an application that users were going to be using, of course there would be a fancy screen and they would be inputting information, and this would be happening behind the scenes. But I think it's super cool to kind of get inside the mind of the code, even though it's very basic, right? And just kind of see the logic that's happening here. This is really important for you guys because you're going to be making the apps and you're going to be programming the robots of the future, right? Like that's why we're doing this. But again, this is our real test though. We're going to print the joke, right? So print. You guys remember the print command. Oops. Just print. And then in parentheses, you tell it what you want to print. I want to make sure, want to print joke 4 is what it's called. Joke 4. But there's a problem. We need to tell it which punchline we want it to use. So I'm going to put print joke 4, space, percent sign. And now I'm going to tell it which of those items from punchline list I want it to use. Okay? I think they're all funny, but just to echo and circle back to the classic, I think I'll use the chicken for our punchline on this one. So what we'll do is, here's how you tell it what to do. So punchline list, I'm going to type in remember I have to type it exactly how I put it here. Punchline list, And then I do a bracket. And inside the bracket, I'm going to tell it which number in that list I want it to use. In this case, it's 2. Okay. Item number 2 from the punchline list. Close bracket, parentheses to close that whole print command. Now, the grand finale, folks. If you're just tuning in, you see a big black screen with a bunch of mumbo jumbo text. It's fascinating, trust me. We've been coding, we've been speaking the language of Python and telling it how to think. We're teaching it how to tell a joke now, all right? At the very, very basic level, we're teaching computers how to have fun and laugh, okay? Okay? So Mr. T says, was something like Python used in the Apollo program to get our rockets to the moon and back to Earth? Well, Python itself didn't exist yet, but very, very primitive forms of programming, for sure, similar to this, were used to get us to the gosh darn moon. So yeah, absolutely, Mr. T, that's a great question. And that's why this basic stuff seems so silly and basic, but it's super important. And trust me, once you get the hang of it, and you kind of like get beyond these and you can do this stuff without thinking too much and get to more advanced stuff, then you start having fun because you start to be able to kind of control the game a little bit, right? That's good stuff. So we're building up to this grand finale. When I hit enter, if we're successful, we will have taught Python to tell a great robot joke. Okay, here we go. Let's see. Dun, da, da, da. Why did the robot cross the road? To get some, oh man, I didn't think about that the way I phrased it. So, well, let's assume that that's dynamic with more advanced code, and it could have removed the sum. So we'll say, to get a bathing suit, of course. Can you imagine like R2-D2 in a bathing suit or C-3PO? Pretty silly stuff. Okay, guys, that was kind of like a very basic intro to Python. You can follow along step by step. It was probably pretty fast to follow live, but that's okay. You can print off. I'll show you what it looks like actually. I'll go back to, so you can see me. But this is from a course, like I said, Intro to Programming Python. And the printout today, the link is there in the comments, looks like this. It's real silly. It walks you step by step in kind of a fun, goofy kind of way. Exactly what you need to do to follow along and do your own variations, of course. The idea is not to copy. It's to learn the language and then put your own spin on it. Solve your own problems with it and go bigger and bigger. And this is just one of many lessons. This was one focused on some basic concepts like strings and embeds and lists and things like that. But the course goes a lot deeper and it's a lot of fun. I showed you 2 free places to go find Python. Today we were using Python Anywhere. Python.org is another one that has a free download that you can put on your computer. And hey, if coding is one of your curiosities and one of your passions, follow it. There's no limitations. No one says you have to be a certain kind of person or good at a certain kind of thing to be a programmer or a coder. Anyone on planet Earth has the skills necessary to pursue their passions. And that's what it's really all about. Pursue your passion until it becomes your talent. And thanks for tuning in to NuMinds TV. We'll see you guys tomorrow from the vault.